What up YouTube, J-Dub here, and thank you for checking out my video / channel. Today I'm not doing so much a repair video as I'm going to try to go over a couple of things because I was having some issues with my Neon's turn signals, and I'm going to get more into that here in a minute. But essentially what happened, the turn signals just stopped working, just nothing. And my hazard lights, after I had done the LED conversion, never worked. So I'm going to kind of go in, and I figured out the problem, and I'm going to kind of go over kind of what I'm thinking. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so we have the 2002 Dodge Neon here, and if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I recently have switched out almost all the exterior lights to LED lighting. The reason behind this was, my thought process is, anybody that's owned a second-gen Neon knows that there is a electrical connector underneath here that gets really hot, and over time it can actually melt the connector. So I more or less figured, because I did the same thing on my DeLorean, I switched out all the lights to LED lighting, and by doing that, I was able to put less draw on the electrical system, which in turn put less heat on the wiring in the car. So I figured, why not try that on this car? Time's gonna tell whether or not it's gonna work. My thought process might be completely off base, but that's kind of what my thought process was. Alrighty, so if you haven't seen my other videos with the LED conversion, or the LED, me switching out the bulbs to LED, go ahead and back and watch those, because I touched on some of the stuff. But basically, the long and the short of it, this is the original relay that went into for the turn signals. This is just a standard relay from Mopar. It's but these relays are not designed to handle the low draw of the LED lights. So you get a condition called hyper flashing. And it almost acts like a bulb's out, like it just flashes rapidly. And I can't stand that. Some guys are like, yeah, it's okay, whatever, it doesn't bother me. Well, it bothers the hell out of me. I hate it. So I essentially got this. This is an LED relay. It's designed to handle the lower draw of the LEDs. I got this from superbrightleds.com, and I basically was using that, and it worked great for like 3 weeks, okay? For 3 weeks, I had no issues. The only problem was with I never had any flashers. For some reason, the flashers, it was making a buzzing sound, and it didn't want to work very well. So, I'm like, whatever, it's flashers. I don't really need those right now. I will figure that out at a later time. So about 3 weeks later, you skip ahead, and I had no turn signals at all. Zero, nothing. They were just gone. So I got really mad, because I'm like, I know it's something that I did. It's something that I did that is causing this problem. So I kind of figured I was going to need a new multi-function switch. I did a video on the multi-function switch not too long ago. I'm thinking about doing another video specifically on the multi-function switch, but let me know down in the comments if you want to see another video that goes a little bit more in depth with the multi-function switch. But basically, the multi-function switch, essentially what it is I think I have the old one here. It's the switch that controls every aspect of the, no I don't. I thought I had one, I guess I don't. It's the switch that basically controls all the lights on the vehicle, on the Dodge Neon for the second gen. The first gens had a separate button on the dash. Let me show you here. Had a separate button on the dash, like it would be like in this area, kind of, on a first gen for the fog lights. And then you had a pull-out style headlight / parking light switch. So what we have on the second gen is what they call a multi-function switch. One click for parking, obviously this for your headlights, you pull out for your fog lights, and then of course standard for for brights. Okay, so this gets, these wear, it just happens. It's probably not the greatest design in the world, unfortunately. So I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword there, but that's basically, I know I was going to need one because that was the only thing I could think of. I switched this back out to standard relay. Like, this one always worked just fine, so I put this back in there, and nothing. I switched all the turn signal bulbs back out to standard incandescent bulbs, thinking, oh, okay, I'm just not going to be able to have LED turn signals, apparently, because it just doesn't work right. And that didn't work either. I checked the fuse, which is here. The fuse was good. I switched out all the fuses just to be safe, and still nothing. And the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I'm like, what is going on here? It's acting like a blown fuse. Like, everything's telling me that it's a blown fuse, okay? So I kept searching, kept thinking, and that brings me to the new multifunction switch. So I put a new multifunction switch in it. I didn't film it only because I've already done a video about the multifunction switch, and I kind of regret not doing it now because this would have been a much more exciting video, but I didn't wind up doing that. So I put the new multifunction switch in and switched everything out. Still no turn signal. So now I'm starting to get really upset, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to have to just start testing all these wires. Something's happening along the way to where it's not making a good connection. Well, come to find out, I feel dumb saying it. It was a blown fuse. It wound up being a blown fuse. But here's the kicker. It wasn't the turn signal fuse that was blown inside the cab. It was, of course, underneath, basically inside the engine compartment. This fuse right here, okay? This is for the hazard lights, all right? I was not aware that there was a hazard light switch fuse. Like, that blows me away. I thought that the turn signals and the hazard lights would all be on the same circuit. So it kind of blew me away, but I switched out the fuse, and guess what? Lo and behold, I've got turn signals again, but the hazards still weren't working. So that kind of made me a little upset. So I'm like, I've got to figure out what's going on with these hazard lights. And I think that that buzzing noise that was making when I put the hazard lights on, I think that's what wound up blowing the fuse under the hood. So what I essentially did, I was like, well, maybe I got a bad relay. I mean, these things are built in China, probably not the greatest quality, you know. So I looked around for another LED compatible relay, and I wound up getting one from a place called Diode Dynamics. Now, their relay was significantly more expensive. It cost like $30 opposed to the Super Bright LEDs relay, which only cost me, I think, 15 bucks. So there definitely was a price difference there. And I'm like, well, you know, the phrase gets tossed around so much, you pay what you get, you know, you pay what you get for, you know. So I'm like, all right, let's see if that will work. So I waited a couple of days, I got the new relay in, and I switched it out. Lo and behold, I now have hazard lights. And I don't exactly know why this is, and I'm leaning towards just the Super Bright LED relay is just faulty, or it's just a piece of crap. One of the two. I don't know which. I'm not a big electrician guy. I'm not going to be able to just crack one of them open and just see what's what. But I do have hazard lights. I do have turn signals, no problem. It's, you know, so I'm really happy about that. As you can see, turn signals, all's right with the world. So we have turn signals and we have hazard lights. So my recommendation to anybody that wants to do this LED swap out, get your relay from Diode Dynamics. It's a little bit pricier, but it works. Now, I can't speak for their LEDs. I don't own any of their LED lights, so I don't know if it's going to work. The LEDs are more quality than the Super Bright LED lights or the ones that I got from AutoZone. But what I can say is that in the old 2 Dodge Neon, the relay from Diode Dynamics that they recommend using works for both hazards and turn signals. We're on 2 weeks now. I wanted to wait a little bit before I made this video. 2 weeks so far, and I've not had a single issue with either the hazards or the turn signals. They've been working flawlessly, and that is awesome. Like, that's what I was looking for. I just want this to work, and I'm hoping over time that it will essentially, you know, stop eating up the connector, the electrical connector, under the behind the steering wheel. on that note, since I put the new multifunction switch in, I usually am very strict that it has to be a Mopar multifunction switch because the aftermarkets, in my personal opinion, don't really hold up that great, but I needed one. I could not find one at a price that I was willing to pay for it, so I ended up going with an aftermarket one. So far, we've had a month. I've had 0 issues out of it. The other nice thing is I now have my fog lights back. There they are. I have fog lights. Couldn't figure out why I did not have fog lights in the car for the longest time. Come to find out, the multifunction switch was bad. So basically, yeah, we are moving along. I'm going to do another video because obviously now that the fog lights are working, you guys know I'm going to have to switch out the fog lights to LED. It's kind of funny. When I first used the fog lights, like I used to be able to notice my fog lights being on. Some guys say like, oh, I don't even notice they're on. I actually noticed they were being on because they were kind of bright. And ever since I put the LED headlights in, I don't even use my fog lights right now because I can't see anything. So I'm like, well, maybe if I switch them out to LED and they're bright like the headlights are, I'll actually be able to see them and it'll give me even more visibility and more ability to see at night and stuff, which would be awesome. So expect that video to come down the pipeline. I just posted a whole slew of videos on the channel, guys, for rear brakes, disc brakes, rear sway bar, rear struts, front struts, lower control arms. I just posted a whole bunch. We put a new steering rack in the car. The car is driving fantastic. The handling is unbelievable. The rear sway bar is awesome. Like, it's just amazing to me what how much of a difference that a rear sway bar makes on a car like this. So go check out those other videos if you haven't. But that's basically that's basically what we're doing right now. I got to finish switching out some more LEDs. I'm a little hesitant. To switch out the side marker lights to LED. I've kind of read some things on the forums that say it kind of messes something up, but I mean, we'll probably switch them out just to see what happens, but I still have to switch out the 2 side markers. We'll probably do that when we do the fog lights too. And I also have to switch out the fog lights to LED as well, and I'll make a video about that. So that's basically where we're at. There's still plenty of stuff that I got to do to this car. It still needs a timing belt, water pump, and a head gasket. That needs a valve cover gasket, rear oil under an oil pan gasket. It's definitely leaking some fluids, but we found out that a lot of the fluids that were leaking were coming from that damn steering rack down there, okay? So that was one of the main problems we were having. If you haven't seen that video with the steering rack, go back, check it out, because it was a pain in the butt, man. Like, that was a really, really rough repair for both me and my friend Chris, who's a professional tech. He was not happy with it either. So, but we found out that a lot of the fluid that we saw leaking on the bottom of the car there, it was just power steering fluid. And what's worse is, you could tell the guy that put the power steering, that was just pumping the power steering reservoir full of like stop leak stuff, like power steering stop leak, and it was just gumming it up and tearing it up because the crap that came out of our rack was not power steering fluid. It was garbage. And what's funny is Chrysler actually uses ATF Plus 4 transmission fluid for their power steering fluid. So, you know, that should have been in there to begin with, but it wasn't. So, you know, is what it is. But basically, yeah, it's it's getting there, guys. But I appreciate everybody who's been watching the videos. You guys have been awesomely supportive. Always trying to get new videos up. I really want to try to just keep building the channel and getting more people out there. Like I said, I'm hoping some other projects are going to come up. Chris bought a 1998 Dodge Neon Coupe that we are in the process of possibly restoring. So there might be some videos on that later down the road. So stay tuned for that. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm working on it. But hopefully, I'm really hoping maybe the DeLorean will get back here in the spring. Maybe some really cool videos with that. But I'm just going to continue with the Neon. Any repair I do to the car, guys, I really am trying to make sure that I get it on video for you guys. So, you know, other people can work on their cars and keep these cars alive. Because I truly do love the Dodge Neon. So, you know, we're just going to keep on going with it. If you guys have any questions, comments or anything, leave them down there in the comment section, guys. I really try to get back to everybody in the comments when I can. If you haven't, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Give a thumbs up if you like this video, and I'll see you next video, guys. Thanks for watching.